Okay. Hello. Welcome. It is May 7th. Had a little bit of a technical glitch there, but I think got everything going now. I see Nathaniel's on. Good to see Nathaniel. Um, as we're going, if you guys have any trouble with your projects for the week, let me know, and I'll pause to answer whatever questions you might have. So, since today is Thursday, we're going to start by going over the packet for week 3. So, if you have your packet, if you're working on your packet, you can go ahead and bring that out. If anyone has any questions, like I said, on the movie project, as we're going, I will, take a break from this and answer those questions. Also, at the end, I'll spend some time going over the movie project steps. We'll probably do the graphic organizer today and the storyboard, and then next week focus more on the poster and the script. We can get to specific questions on any of those components if you have some, though. If you already began the script, or if you already began, trying to get your storyboard together and you have a question, feel free to ask it, and we will jump straight to that. But in the absence of any questions, we'll get started on the packet. So this is the language arts packet. If you kept up to date, you should be finishing up week 3 by now. These are the answers to week 3. So the first part of the packet, the Monday, reads, you have to tell me the point of view of this little passage. So imagine the strength. Story isn't working. Okay, be a little bit more specific with that, Nick. The story isn't working. Which story isn't working? I'll talk you through that, but I need a little bit more to go on than that. But I'll come back to you in a second. So anyways, imagine the strength it would take to pull a large airplane. On October 15th, 1997, one man did just that. He set a record by pulling a 200-ton Boeing 747 plane almost 300 feet. What is the point of view of this story? Okay, so if you guys, Katana, if you want to take a guess as to what you think that is, or if you already did this particular activity and you remember the answer that you put, just type that in the little bar there, and I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. And there's only 3 choices here. It's either first person, second person, or third person. So I'll give you just a second for the delay to catch up. Anybody want to tell me what perspective that is? First, second, or third? I know there's a delay, but I'm not sure how far behind it is. Okay, so the first answer is third person. So if you put third person for the first answer, you were right. If you had something else, that's okay. You can change it, obviously. The second question just wants you to use an apostrophe. So an apostrophe is just this little comma-looking thing that shows ownership. So all they want to know is if they use the apostrophe correctly. So Zhao Li's weightlifting record was set in 2003. So they have the apostrophe after Li and before weightlifting. So this would show that she owns the weightlifting record. So in this case, they used that correctly. It would be the same thing as saying Nathaniel's pencil. You'd put the apostrophe at the end of Nathaniel's name to show that he owns the pencil. So far you should have third person, and you should have yes for your answer. Or you could rate correct, whichever. Which word means the act of competing? And they have competition, competitor, and competed. So which one of those words, because they all come from the same root, which one of those means the act of competing? Anyone want to venture an answer? Okay, That's a little bit of a trickier one. This one, it would be competition. A competitor is the person doing the competing, and competed, it would be to have done it in the past. The actual act of competing would be the competition. So the first one would be the correct answer. Number 4, they want you to circle the correct words. This is pretty easy. You just circle either lift or lifts. Good. Good job, Nathaniel. I think the delay was a little bit longer than I expected. So yeah, good job. And since you're turning the packet in, you can just circle it, and you can write the answers to the side where you have to write yes or no or whatever. So when you turn the packet in, you don't have to have rewritten everything. Hey, but good job, Nathaniel. What do you think for number 4? Would lift or lifts complete this sentence? I think it's odd they're using kilograms. I don't know how much a kilogram is. Should just be in pounds, I think. Anyone want to take a guess on that one? Lift or lifts? Okay, the answer for this one would be lift. The athletes at the Newtown Body Competition lift about 200. Okay, good guess, Nico. The reason it would be lift instead of lifts, though, is it's plural. So if it was only one athlete, then it would be lifts. But because it's multiple athletes, it's going to just be lift. So good job, Nathaniel, and good try, Nick. All right, and then last one you have to do. All you have to do is tell me for the last one, does the author have enough information? Hey, Tristan. To draw the conclusion written in the last sentence. So his last sentence is, thus bodybuilders do not have to be as strong as weightlifters. Hey, Jeremiah. So what we want to do is read this little passage. I guess you can't see my finger when I'm touching, but read this passage, and then you're going to determine whether or not they defended their conclusion. Like, did they give enough supporting details to prove that bodybuilders don't have to be as strong as weightlifters? Yeah, I'm guessing the delay is pretty bad because I've asked questions and then there's like, I'm already moving on, and then someone answers. So I didn't realize the delay was quite so bad. I think it's a little worse today than it is usually, but that's all right. We're working through it. So this one, Olympic-style weightlifters are some of the strongest men and women in the world. They may not have had the biggest muscles, but they have the strongest, most powerful muscles. Bodybuilders, on the other hand, work for bulk because the emphasis in their sport is the appearance of the muscles. Thus, bodybuilders do not have to be as strong as weightlifters. So for this one, just because of the delay, I'll just go over the answer. For this one, they do defend this, right? Because they say bodybuilders don't have to be as strong as weightlifters, and they explain why. They explain that weightlifters are trying to gain strength, whereas bodybuilders are just trying to gain the appearance of strength. So they do explain that the bodybuilders don't have to be as strong. They just want the appearance of being strong. So for number 5, you could just say yes. Or if you want to write a sentence, you could say yes, they did. But whichever, just so long as I know that you agree with it. Okay, I know this takes a while to go through all these, so we're just going to go through Tuesday, and then I'll put the rest of the answers on the web page. And if you have any questions as to why something's right or wrong, you can feel free to message me, and I'll explain it in more detail. For Tuesday, we have rewrite the sentence to show more action. So this one, there are a bunch of different ways that you could do it. I scribbled out an answer earlier to this one. With a lift of 300 kilograms, Ding Meilan began a women's world champion weightlifter. I can't help you with being hungry, Nick. Sorry. So all they want you to do is show more action. So I would probably say something like, start with the name. Like, I typed this out for you already, so I'll just show you so you don't just listen to me. Yeah, right there. So I wrote her name first. Ding Meilan hoisted 300 kilograms to become a women's world champion weightlifter. So I just tried to use the verb more prominently, which is what they're asking you to do, show more action. All right, So that's already 10 minutes of class, so I think that's enough of going over this part of the packet. If you have any specific questions to the answers, which will be posted on Google Classrooms, just send me a message and I'll go over why or why not something's correct. But this paper that I have up right now, I'll stick on your Google Classroom so you can check your own work. The second aspect of your packet that we're going to go over is the vocab. So the story you guys read this week was about, what was it about? Like snakes, I think? Yeah, snakes. So what you had to do here, just like how you guys would have normally done for homework, is read through the sentences and then pick the answer that best completes each sentence. So for your first one, you have Carter watched the storm clouds moving heavily along blank like dark castles floating on the sea. So I know there's a delay, otherwise I'd have you guys just answer these. But here we're going to go with she watched the horizon. So you would just copy down horizon, put it right there. For number 2, the dampness made her skin feel clammy and his clothes stick to his body. Carter studied the area around him, the soggy marsh on his left and the empty shoreline on his right. If a storm turned into a hurricane, the region along the coast would have no defense against the high surf. A seagull landed near Carter's boot and casually began to hunt for food. The blunt end of the beak made little craters in the sand. The gull's boldness and landing, landing near surprised Carter, and that would be that. And I know this is kind of rough going through it with the delay, so again, I'll just put these answers on the web page for you to see. But that's already been about 15 minutes, and I want to get to the project. The second page of the vocab's answers will also be on the site. So when you go to Google Classrooms, it will just look like packet answers for week 3. And they're being posted right now. So they'll be there for your convenience. So now to get to the meat of today's lesson, that took a little longer than I expected it to. And that's your guys' projects, which I want to get over. So like I was saying before, I kind of think the movie project will take more than a week. I know there are like 5 components to it, and you have some choice on which components you guys want to do. But I'll go over in detail, the storyboard and the plot diagram today. And of those 2, you only have to pick one, so whichever one you find easier. And the movie poster. Hopefully we can talk about that some today too. There were a few questions posted on the movie poster, so I'll go over those first. So the movie poster, you have 3 options, right? You can either hand draw your poster, and if you do that, then you can either take a picture of it and email it to me, or you can just turn it in with your packet. So near the end of the year, you can just turn it in. Either way. If you want to do something on the website, you can click the movie poster link, and it's just going to bring up a blank Word document. So on this one, all you're going to do is type the name of your story, like Nathaniel's story, Nick's story, or if you come up with like some really cool name, type that in. And then you can just take pictures from the internet. Just do a normal Google search of, like monsters, aliens, robots, whatever is going to be in your movie. You can even take a main character from another story or another movie and use that as your picture. Just don't copy the entire, poster and be like, well, this is my poster. It would be more like a collage, right? So like you could have like a small picture of maybe an alien, a small picture of maybe like a car driving really fast, depending on what you have your movie about. Okay, I saw Nick ask the question, how can we do the hand? So if you draw it by hand, is that what you're asking? If you draw it by hand just on a plain sheet of paper, a plain sheet of cardboard, a plain sheet of white copy paper, just, make a movie poster. So I don't know what your movie's about. I'm just going to assume that it deals with, let's say, robot crocodiles. So maybe the name of your movie is The Killer Robot Crocodile. So prominently on your poster, you would just write that killer robot crocodile really big, and then you give me a couple of pictures, maybe like a picture of a robot crocodile eating someone, and then maybe another picture of someone running away, maybe a picture of like whoever your hero is, with like a lightsaber or something in the corner, I don't know. And then you just give me a couple of like words near the bottom where you would say like, produced by, written by, and then your actors, and you can make up names if you want it to be funny. And then most movie posters will also have a quote somewhere on, like Star Wars would say something like, may the force be with you, or Star Trek would say something like, live long and prosper, or whatever. So just be creative and draw it by hand if you want to. And then you just turn it in with your regular packets. So, any other questions on that? So you can do the collage, or you can do the draw by hand, or your third option is actually the Google Drawings. Now this is the one that Narelle asked questions about. So this one, it's Google Drawing. You can actually like use these different, wrong button. You can actually use these different options here to like make something. You can also upload pictures and do the collage example that we talked about on this as well. So you could just type in, crocodiles or whatever and get some pictures on there. Or you can actually draw lines with the different options on here as well. So if you want to try to work this out, you can give that a shot. I have not played with Google Drawings much, so I'm going to be way less helpful on this than the other options. I seem to have just made a mess, so I'll get rid of that. Alright, so those are kind of like the movie poster portions of it. The main thing I'm going to grade the movie poster for is if it's a good representation of what your movie is going to be about. Is it like eye-catching? Is it something that I could maybe walk by and think, oh, I really want to see what that is? And I mean, if you put like aliens or crocodiles in it, I'm going to want to watch it regardless. But, try to be eye-catching, try to hold my attention. Does anyone have any idea about what their short film is going to be about? I saw a few people started asking questions, but I didn't see anyone's actual idea yet. Feel free to type those in the side here, and we can talk you through it. Okay, the other one I really want to go over is the storyboard and the plot diagram. So for this part, you don't have to do both. You're just going to do one or the other, right? So if you do the storyboard, that's where you use the Pixton, right? And it's the same login from before. For your login, you would have to go down to the comic option from last week, the create a comic one, and then just click the student login, and that will give you your login there. So just click on your name and then paste that right there. I have an idea, but I don't want to share. Okay, all right, Katana, you don't have to share it. Eventually, I am going to get to read it though, so. Or if you just don't want to share it with your classmates, that's fine. Yeah, that's not a problem. If you want to do the storyboard, what you're going to do is you're going to take the main events from your story and put them in comic book form. So if you do this, I think there was some confusion about how long the storyboard would be. You wouldn't do the entire story in comic form. It would just be like the main events. Otherwise, your comic would take like something crazy like 30 pages. And I'm not expecting you to do that. Probably like 6 would be enough. So if you go the storyboard route, the same way we did it in class, you just take the main aspects of the story and you draw that. And use enough dialogue so that I know what's happening. Or if you don't want to have the characters talking, you can just type the words in, to let me know what's happening there. Because again, it's just an outline. I've never read your story before, so I don't know what's happening. So just give me enough detail so I have a general gist of what's happening in your story. Now, if you don't want to do the comic, if you think that one's a little too difficult, maybe you're not very artistic, or maybe you just don't like comic books, instead you can click on the movie graphic organizer. On this one, all you're going to do is type in your information. So this would be if you'd rather just work with words, right? So for your antagonist, you just give me a name for your antagonist. If you're doing one about killer robot crocodiles, you could just write killer robot crocodile because that's your villain. And then your detail, you would just explain created by mad scientist or whatever, or sent from aliens to destroy the population on Earth, whatever you want your main villain's motivation to be. And then your protagonist, you just put your name. If you're going to actually be the character in your story, you could just write Tristan, Jeremiah, Katana, or whoever. Put your name right there. And then the detail, and your detail is just like a defining characteristic. So for like Shrek, it would be something like grumpy but kind-hearted. For Anne and the Anne Frank play we just read, you could put naive but spunky, right? Because she was able to stand up for herself constantly. Just give me like 2 details about your hero, because your hero should be a round character, like we talked about before, more than one characteristic. And then I put space for you to do 2 supporting characters. You don't have to do 2 supporting characters. You can have more if you want, or you can have less, or you can have no supporting characters. Yeah, and Nathaniel, that's a good point. If you liked your previous story that you guys did, your comic, and you want to make the movie go off of that, that's fine. You could absolutely do that. If you think that your idea is too difficult to film the entire story, you could also just do a trailer, because that was one of the options for the movie. You could either do the entire film or you could do a trailer. Either way, it should be at least 2 minutes, no more than 5 minutes. And if you want to see examples, you can just go onto YouTube and type in movie trailer or type in short film, and tons of short films will pop up. A lot of them are just by regular people who wanted to try to be creative and get some YouTube fame. So there are lots of even just one person making their own film, sometimes playing multiple roles where it looks like the person was recording themselves, then they changed, and then they record themselves again. So, you could just change your Hawaiian shirt from scene to scene and be 2 different characters, or maybe put like, a mustache on your finger, that way, like when you're the bad guy, you put your finger up there and it looks like you have a mustache, because the villain would of course have a mustache. And then when you take your finger away, then you're, the hero, you're the good guy. Or you could use a white hat or whatever to be the good guy, no hat to be the bad guy, whatever. If you want to just do the whole thing by yourself, that's cool. Also, if you want to use props, if you have old toys in a closet somewhere, you can pull those out. If you have some old Star Wars toys and you want to do like spaceship battles, or if you have like some old dinosaurs or like crocodiles or whatever, you don't have to be in the video, right? So like if you wanted to even do your film with like miniatures like Legos or something, there are a lot of short films that people made on YouTube just using Legos. So if you have Legos, like I was never really into those, but I know a lot of people are. If you have Legos and you want to do like a stop motion type thing, you could do that. And if you were doing something stop motion with Legos or with clay, I wouldn't expect it to be as long, because that would take way longer to produce. So I would be okay with that being just like a minute if you did something like that. So yeah, you don't have to be in the video. You can have like, if you have friends who you can, I know we're all in quarantine, so it's probably difficult to go get friends. If you have siblings, your parents want to be in it, whatever, you could do that. I'm pretty open to that. Be as creative as you want. The other 2 important things for this outline are your conflict and your theme. These are just things that we went over throughout the year. Conflict's what drives your plot. Without a conflict, you just kind of have characters like living their lives. That's why everyday life isn't always super exciting, because there's no conflict to make it exciting. Normally your conflict can be described fairly short, right? Like in Anne Frank, it was hiding from the Nazis. Yeah, Tristan, that's fine. You can use your family, but not yourself. If your if your family's willing to let you get away with that, go for it. So yeah, if you want to use like parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, sisters, pets, whatever. If you want to do like kind of like one of the movies with dogs, like Air Bud or something like that. If you want to try to do something kind of crazy where an animal's your main character, go for it. I'm fine with that. Just be as creative as you want. Just make sure that the people who you're asking to be in your film are, willing to do it. Don't, tell them to do it and then they just refuse. So anyways, conflict. So conflict, that's just what's going to drive your plot. And then theme's something we went over in the beginning of the year. We've kind of touched on it throughout the year. And the theme is just the overall message. Every story should have like a lesson in it. It's kind of why like stories were invented in the first place. They're to teach people a lesson, right? So like any fairy tale, Little Red Riding Hood's teaching you not to talk to strangers. The Three Little Pigs is teaching you to work hard, because the pig who worked hard is the only one whose house stands up to the disasters. Shrek's teaching you to like be happy with who you are. Ricky Tikki's teaching you to be brave. Sometimes it's more open-ended. It's just like the dangers of technology, or the dangers of government, or the dangers of like crocodiles or whatever that you want, right? So it's just like the lesson that you want to teach. So make sure your story has a discernible, like noticeable theme. Make sure you have a conflict. It's not just people standing around talking. And then make sure you have an interesting set of characters. And if you only have one character, that's fine. You could do the entire thing with just like a hero. If you're using like nature as your villain, maybe you're using it like a post-apocalyptic, everybody else has died or something, and the person's by themselves. So the apocalypse is like the villain. Or if you have someone like trapped on a moon base, trapped in the middle of the ocean, whatever, then like the situation becomes the villain, because it's more of a man versus nature type situation. You could absolutely do that as well. Okay. So what we're do next week, we're focused more on the script writing portion and the soundtrack for Tuesday. And then Thursday next week, we'll go over the actual, what people have filmed so far. But I'm expecting you guys to take a little bit longer on this. So as you're working on it, make sure you let me know if you have any questions so we can talk you through that. You can post your questions directly on Google Classrooms. Wait till a YouTube session, or you can just email me. Any way will work. So yeah. Any other questions? Someone had a question on... Oh no, it's not a question. So alright, good. And yeah, I know it's like 5 steps, so don't panic about I have these 5 things I need to get done. Just go step by step. So do your movie poster first. When you get done with that, then work on your graphic organizer or storyboard, and then just keep moving along. Don't get overwhelmed by just the 5 things you have to do, because I'm giving you more time to do this particular project. So, any other questions, comments? Any ideas that you guys need? I mean, crocodiles are fantastic enemies. Anything with a crocodile in it's going to be terrifying. So you could always use those as monsters. All right. If that's all, it's 1 o'clock, so time is up. Feel free to make any comments or questions throughout the day, and I'll get back to you as quick as I possibly can. Your answers to week 3's packet is already posted, so that's there for you to use. Your grades are up to date other than this week's stuff, so everything else should be already entered in progress book. And if you're still turning in things late, that's fine, because I periodically check those as well. There you go, Tristan. I was waiting for that before I signed off. I did cut my hair yesterday, so thanks for noticing. All right, I'll talk to you all later. Have a good day and a good weekend. Bye.